The pressure to stay consistent. Hello, my name is Jewel. Many people feel pressure to stay consistent even when their internal signals change. They keep the same roles, they maintain the same preferences, they repeat the same behaviors. Not because those behaviors are still coherent, but because inconsistency feels risky. This video explains why the pressure to stay consistent exists structurally and why it can override recognition even when clarity is present. Consistency is often treated as a virtue, but structurally, consistency is a tool the human operating system uses to preserve continuity. When behavior is predictable, outcomes are easier to manage. Relationships remain stable. Identity remains known. The operating system uses consistency to reduce uncertainty. So the drive to remain consistent is not always about truth. It is often about stability. Over time, repeated patterns become linked to identity. The system learns, this is who I am. When identity and consistency become linked, changing behavior feels like identity's destabilization. The operating system then produces pressure to remain the same, even when internal recognition has shifted. This pressure can show up as fear of being misunderstood, fear of disappointing people, fear of relationship conflict, fear of losing self-definition. These are continuity concerns. They are not signals of truth. In future videos, the ARC is going to target identity load collapse. As the roles become visible and begin loosening, the operating system attempts to preserve stability. One of the strongest stabilizers is consistency. So when internal signals shift, the system tries to hold the old pattern in place. This is why growth often feels destabilizing, even when clarity is increasing. The operating system is protecting identity continuity and predictability. When the system prioritizes consistency over recognition, several things occur. The person continues behaviors that are no longer true. The system carries internal contradiction. Energy increases because maintaining the old pattern requires effort. Over time, this produces fatigue, resentment, and loss of clarity. The cost is not the change. The cost is holding the old structure after recognition has moved on. When consistency pressure releases, behavior becomes aligned with recognition again. This does not create chaos. It reduces internal contradiction. The person becomes simpler. They stop maintaining patterns for identity continuity. They stop managing perception. Consistency becomes a result of coherence rather than demand. The operating system adapts to stability through truth rather than stability through repetition. In closing, the pressure to stay consistent is not always a signal that something is correct. It is often a continuity response from the human operating system. Consistency preserves predictability and identity continuity. But when consistency overrides recognition, internal contradiction increases. When the pressure releases, consistency becomes a byproduct of coherence rather than a requirement. The next video clarifies what happens when usefulness replaces truth and why the system will maintain roles long after they are coherent.